The rain fell hard on the metal roof of the small workshop. Doyun wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the broken machine on his table. It was a water filter, the kind poor families used in the slums. The owner, an old alien woman with gray skin and tired eyes, watched him work. "Can you fix it?" she asked. Do-hyun nodded. "Give me 1 hour." He had been on this planet for 3 years now. 3 years since the cosmic storm destroyed his transport ship. 3 years since he became stranded on Varath, a world ruled by beings who lived for hundreds of years and looked down on humans like they were insects. The Varathi were tall and elegant. Their skin came in colors of blue, gray, and purple. They had eyes like polished stones and voices like music. They built ships that could cross galaxies and cities that touched the clouds. And they thought humans were primitive, weak, stupid. Do-hyun did not argue with them, he simply worked. In 3 years, he had built a small reputation in the slums. The human who could fix things. The alien engineers charged too much money and refused to work on old machines. But Do-hyun fixed everything. Water filters, heating units, small vehicles. He asked for little payment, sometimes just food, sometimes just a place to sleep. He finished the water filter and handed it to the old woman. She pressed her thin fingers together in the Varathi way of saying thank you. Then she left, and Do-hyun was alone again. He sat down and ate his dinner, cold rice and some vegetables his friend Taiho had given him. Taiho was the only other human on this part of the planet. He ran a small trading post and always worried about Do-hyun. "You work too hard for people who hate you," Taiho always said. But Do-hyun did not see it that way. Work gave him purpose. Work kept him alive. And sometimes when he fixed something that everyone else said was impossible to fix, he felt a small pride. A small victory against a universe that had taken everything from him. The door of his workshop exploded open. Do-hyun jumped to his feet. 4 royal guards stood in the doorway. They wore black armor with gold symbols. Their faces showed no emotion. "Human," one of them said, "you will come with us." Do-hyun's heart beat fast. "What did I do?" "You will come with us now." They did not wait for him to agree. 2 guards grabbed his arms and pulled him outside. The rain soaked his clothes immediately. They pushed him into a transport vehicle, and the doors closed with a heavy sound. Do-hyun sat in the darkness, his mind racing. What crime had he committed? Had someone complained about his work? Had he offended some noble without knowing? On Varath, humans had no rights. They could be executed for small mistakes. They could disappear and no one would ask questions. The vehicle flew for a long time. When it stopped, the guards pulled him out. Do-hyun looked up and his breath stopped. He was standing before the royal palace. It was the largest building he had ever seen. White stone and gold metal reached toward the sky. Lights glowed from 1,000 windows. Gardens stretched in every direction, filled with plants that sparkled like jewels. The guards pushed him forward. They walked through halls of marble and crystal. Do-hyun saw paintings of Varathi kings and queens from thousands of years ago. He saw statues of warriors and scholars. Everything spoke of power and history and greatness. Finally, they entered a massive hangar. Do-hyun stopped walking. The guards had to push him again. In the center of the hangar sat a ship. But it was not like any ship Do-hyun had ever seen. It was beautiful in a way that made his chest hurt. The metal curved like flowing water. The surface shimmered with colors that changed when he moved his head. It was easily 300 meters long, shaped like a great bird with wings folded back. But it was covered in dust. The lights were dark. It sat there like a sleeping giant, or perhaps a dead one. A voice spoke from behind him. "This is the eternity." Do-hyun turned. A woman stood there. No, not a woman. A queen. She was tall, even for a Varathi. Her skin was pale blue, almost white. Her hair was silver and fell to her waist. Her eyes were dark purple, deep like the space between stars. She wore a simple black dress, no crown, no jewelry. But her presence filled the entire hangar. Do-hyun felt small just looking at her. Queen Yuna. He had heard stories about her, the ruler who never left her palace, the queen who had not flown in over 70 years, the monarch who watched her empire from a distance, cold and silent. "The ship has been broken for 73 years, she said. Her voice was flat, empty of emotion. "Every engineer in my empire has tried to repair it, The greatest minds of 7 star systems have examined it. They have all failed. Do-yun looked from the Queen to the ship and back again. Why am I here? Queen Yuna walked closer. Her eyes studied him like he was a strange insect she had found on her floor. I have heard about you, she said. The human in the slums who fixes machines that others cannot fix. I do not believe the stories. I think you are nothing special. I think you are just another primitive creature from a primitive world. She stopped in front of him. She was much taller. Do-yun had to look up to meet her eyes. But I have no pride left, she continued. I have tried everything else. So now I try the impossible. Now I try the insult. The insult, Do-yun repeated. You, a human, working on the royal ship. If the people knew, they would laugh. If my ancestors knew, they would be ashamed. She turned away from him and looked at the eternity. But the ship does not fly. It has not flown since my father died. And I am tired of looking at it. Tired of being reminded of what I have lost. She walked toward the hangar door. The guards followed her. Wait, Do-yun called out. What do you want me to do? Queen Yuna stopped. She did not turn around. Fix it, or fail like everyone else. I do not care which. Then she left. The great doors closed behind her, and Do-yun stood alone in the hangar with nothing but dust, silence, and a ship that had not flown in 73 years. He walked closer to the eternity. He placed his hand on the cold metal surface. It felt strange under his fingers, not like normal metal. It felt almost like skin, like something that had once been alive. What happened to you? Do-yun whispered. The ship did not answer, but somewhere deep inside it, something stirred. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time opened one eye and noticed that someone new had come. Someone different. Someone human. Do-yun woke up on the cold floor of the hangar. He had slept there because no one told him where else to go. No one brought him a bed. No one brought him food. He was simply left alone with the ship. He stood up slowly and stretched his body. His back hurt. His neck was stiff. But he had slept in worse places during his 3 years on Varath. The morning light came through high windows and fell on the eternity. In the daylight, the ship looked even more magnificent and even more sad. Dust covered every surface. Some of the outer panels had started to lose their color. It looked like a beautiful painting left in the rain. Do-yun walked around the ship slowly. He spent the entire morning just looking. He touched different parts of the hull. He knocked gently on metal plates and listened to the sound. He looked at the joints where different sections connected. Something was strange. He could not find any mechanical damage. No broken parts, no cracks, no rust. The ship looked old because it had been sitting still for so long, not because anything was broken. In the afternoon, he found a way inside the ship. The main door would not open, but a small maintenance hatch on the side was unlocked. Do-yun squeezed through and entered the darkness. He had a small light in his pocket. He used it to explore the interior. The hallways were beautiful, made of the same flowing metal as the outside. The rooms were large and elegant. Everything was designed for royalty, but everything was dead. No lights, no power, no sound except his own footsteps. Do-yun found the engine room. He expected to see complex machinery, the kind of technology that would take him years to understand. But what he found was different. The engine was not a machine. It was something organic, something alive. Or it had been alive once. A great sphere sat in the center of the room. It was made of something that looked like flesh and metal mixed together. Tubes and wires grew out of it like veins. The whole thing pulsed very slightly, so slightly that Do-yun was not sure if he was imagining it. He placed his hand on the sphere. It was warm. Not hot, just warm, like a sleeping body. You are alive, Do-yun whispered, but you are not working. Why? He spent hours examining the engine. He followed every tube and wire. He checked every connection. And he found nothing wrong. Everything was connected properly. Everything was in place. The engine should work, but it did not. That night, Tai-ho came to visit him. His friend had to bribe the guards to get inside. He brought food and water and a worried expression. You have to get out of here, Tai-ho said. This is a trap. The queen is setting you up to fail. When you fail, she will blame you. She will say the primitive human damaged her ship. Do-hyun ate the food slowly. I do not think so. Why not? Because she does not care enough to make traps. Do-hyun remembered the queen's eyes. Empty. Tired. She has given up. She brought me here because she has no hope left. I am her last attempt before she stops trying forever. Taeho shook his head. That ship has been broken for 73 years. What makes you think you can fix it? I do not know if I can. Do-hyun looked toward the eternity. But I know one thing. The ship is not broken. There is no damage, no missing parts, no mechanical failure. Then why does it not fly? Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. I need you to find something for me. Records, history. I need to know what happened 73 years ago. I need to know why the ship stopped. Taeho looked scared. That kind of information is not easy to find. The royal family keeps their secrets well. Please try. Taeho left. Do-hyun went back to work. 3 days passed. Do-hyun barely slept. He examined every part of the ship he could reach. He drew diagrams. He made notes. He talked to himself constantly, working through problems out loud. The guards watched him and laughed. They called him names in their language. They said he was wasting his time. They said the queen would grow bored soon and throw him back to the slums. Do-hyun ignored them all. On the 4th day, Taeho returned. He looked nervous and excited at the same time. I found something, he said. It was not easy. I had to trade many favors. But I found old records from 73 years ago. He handed Do-hyun a small device. Do-hyun activated it and began to read. The records told a story. 73 years ago, King Minho ruled the Varath Empire. He was a good king, loved by his people. He flew the eternity across the stars, visiting all parts of his empire. The ship was his companion, his partner, his friend. Then King Minho got sick, a rare disease with no cure. He grew weaker and weaker over many months. The records showed that the eternity also grew weaker during this time. Its lights became dim, its engines slowed. When the king could no longer walk, the ship could no longer fly. On the day King Minho died, the eternity stopped completely. Every system shut down at the exact moment the king took his last breath. The ship and the king died together. Do-hyun read the records again, and again, and again. The ship is not a machine, he said finally. It is alive. It bonds with the royal family. It loved the king, and when the king died, the ship's heart broke. Taeho stared at him. Ships do not have hearts. This one does. Look at the engine. It is organic. It grows. It feels. Do-hyun stood up and walked toward the eternity. The Varathi engineers tried to fix the ship like a machine. They checked systems. They replaced parts. They ran diagnostics. But you cannot fix a broken heart with tools. Then how do you fix it? Do-hyun placed his hand on the ship's hull. The metal was still warm, still alive, still waiting. You do not fix a broken heart, Do-hyun said. You heal it. You give it a reason to beat again. He looked up at the great ship. 73 years of grief, 73 years of silence, 73 years of waiting for something that would never come back. I understand now, Do-hyun said softly. You are not broken. You are sad. You lost someone you loved, and you gave up. You decided that flying was not worth it anymore. You decided that nothing was worth it anymore. The ship did not respond, but Do-hyun could have sworn the metal grew a little warmer under his hand. I know that feeling, he continued. I lost everything too. My home, my family, my world. For a long time, I wanted to give up. I wanted to stop trying. He pressed his forehead against the hull. But I did not give up, and I am not going to let you give up either. I am going to remind you what it feels like to fly. I am going to give you something worth living for. In the darkness inside the ship, something stirred. The great organic engine pulsed a little stronger. Not much, just a little, but it was enough. The ship was listening. Every night after the guards changed shifts and the hangar grew quiet, he would enter the eternity and sit in the main hallway. He would lean against the wall, close his eyes, and speak. He told the ship about Earth, about the blue oceans that covered most of the planet, about the mountains that touched the clouds, about the forests full of green trees and singing birds. He described the feeling of standing on a beach at sunset, watching the light turn gold and red and purple across the water. He told the ship about his childhood, about his grandmother who made the best soup he ever tasted, about his father who taught him to fix machines, about his mother who sang songs while she worked in the kitchen. Simple stories, small memories, nothing important to anyone except him. He told the ship about rain, about how on Earth water fell from the sky and made everything fresh and clean, about the sound it made on rooftops, about the smell of the ground after a storm, about running through puddles as a child and not caring about wet clothes. The guards thought he was crazy. They stood outside the ship and laughed at him. The human has lost his mind, they said. He talks to metal walls. The queen should throw him out. Give it time. She will grow bored of this game soon. But Do-hyun did not care what they thought. He kept talking, night after night, week after week. Sometimes he felt foolish. What was he doing? Telling stories to a ship, expecting a machine to understand human emotions? Maybe the guards were right. Maybe he had lost his mind. But then he would notice small things. A light that flickered when he told a funny story. A warmth that spread through the walls when he spoke about his grandmother. A gentle vibration in the floor when he described the feeling of flying through space. The ship was listening. He was sure of it. One night Queen Yuna came to the hangar. Do-hyun did not know she was there. He was inside the ship, sitting in the command chamber, telling a story about the first time he saw stars from space. He described the way they looked without an atmosphere to dim them, bright and sharp and endless, like scattered diamonds on black cloth. When he finished the story, he heard footsteps. He turned and saw the queen standing in the doorway. She looked different than before. Her face was not so cold. Her eyes were not so empty. She looked almost curious. "What are you doing?" she asked. Do-hyun stood up quickly. "Your Majesty, I did not know you were here." "I asked a question." He hesitated. How could he explain? She was a queen of a great empire. She would not understand talking to a ship. She would not understand trying to heal a broken heart with stories. "I am trying to help the ship remember," he said finally. "Remember what it feels like to be alive, to fly, to experience things." Queen Yuna walked into the command chamber. She looked around at the empty seats, the dark screens, the silent controls. Her hand touched the back of her father's chair. "My engineers would say you are wasting time," she said. "Yes, they probably would. They would say ships do not have feelings. Ships do not need stories. Ships need repairs." "Yes." The queen turned to look at him. "Then why do you do it?" Do-hyun thought carefully before answering. "Because your engineers do not understand. They see a machine. I see something different." "What do you see?" "A living thing. A heart that was broken by grief. A soul that gave up on life." He paused. "I know what that feels like. When I lost my home, my family, everyone I loved, I wanted to give up too. I wanted to stop existing. But someone talked to me. Someone told me stories. Someone reminded me that life could still have meaning. And slowly, very slowly, I started to heal." The queen was silent for a long time. The darkness of the command chamber seemed to wrap around them both. "You think you can heal my father's ship with stories," she said. It was not a question. "I think I can try." Queen Yuna walked to the large window at the front of the command chamber. Through the dust and darkness, she looked out at the hangar beyond. Do-hyun watched her back, the way her shoulders were tight with tension. 73 years, she said quietly. "I have spent 73 years in that palace, looking at this hangar, knowing my father's ship sat here empty and dead. I told myself I did not care. I told myself it was just a machine. I told myself I had moved on." She turned to face him. There was something in her eyes now, something that had been buried for a very long time. "But I have not moved on. I have simply been hiding from my grief, from my memories, from everything that reminds me of him." Do-hyun did not know what to say, so he said nothing. Sometimes silence was better than words. The queen looked at him strangely. "You do not treat me like a queen?" "I am sorry, I do not mean to be rude." "No, that is not what I mean." She stepped closer to him. Everyone treats me with fear, with worship, with distance. You treat me like a person. You are a person. Am I? Sometimes I forget. She almost smiled. Almost. You are strange, human. You talk to ships. You show no fear to queens. You try impossible things. On Earth, we have a saying, nothing is impossible, just difficult. The queen considered this. Then she walked toward the door. Continue your work, she said. I will not stop you. Thank you, your majesty. She paused at the doorway. My name is Yuna. You may use it when we are alone. Then she was gone. Do-yun stood in the empty command chamber for a long time. Something had changed tonight. He could feel it. The ship could feel it too. The walls seemed a little brighter. The air seemed a little warmer. From that night on, Queen Yuna came to the hangar often. She did not always speak. Sometimes she just sat in the shadows and listened to Do-yun tell his stories. Sometimes she walked through the ship alone, touching the walls, remembering her father. And sometimes, very rarely, she would tell stories of her own, about her father's laughter, about the places they had visited together, about the way the eternity used to dance through the stars. The ship listened to her, too, and with each story, each memory, each small piece of shared grief, it grew a little stronger. Something was waking up. Something was starting to heal. And deep in the palace, someone was watching. Someone who did not want the ship to fly again. Someone who had built her power on the queen's isolation and despair. Advisor Somi looked at her reports and felt afraid for the first time in decades. The human was succeeding where all others had failed. And if the ship flew again, everything would change. She could not let that happen. Advisor Somi had served the royal family for over 100 years. She had watched Queen Yuna grow from a young princess into a cold and distant ruler. She had watched the empire slowly weaken as the queen hid in her palace, and she had used that weakness to build her own power. For 73 years, Somi had been the true ruler of the Varith Empire. The queen signed documents without reading them. The queen attended ceremonies without speaking. The queen existed, but she did not govern. Somi governed. Somi made decisions. Somi controlled which information reached the queen and which did not. She had placed her allies in important positions. She had removed her enemies quietly. She had built a network of power that stretched across 7 star systems. All of it depended on one thing. The queen must remain broken. Now Somi stood in her private office, reading reports from her spies in the royal hangar. The reports made her blood cold. The ship is showing signs of activity. Lights have been seen flickering at night. The temperature inside the vessel has increased by several degrees. The human continues his strange methods. The queen visits the hangar every evening. Somi threw the reports onto her desk. This was impossible. That ship had been dead for 73 years. The best engineers in the empire had failed to wake it. How could one primitive human succeed? But the evidence was clear. Something was happening. The ship was responding to the humans' methods. And worse, the queen was changing. Somi had seen Queen Yuna yesterday. The queen had been walking in the palace gardens, something she had not done in decades. She had been looking at the sky. She had been almost smiling. If the ship flew again, everything would fall apart. The queen would travel. The queen would see her empire with her own eyes. The queen would discover what Somi had been doing for 73 years. The lies, the corruption, the stolen power. Somi could not let that happen. She had worked too hard. She had come too far. She would not lose everything because of one human. She called her most trusted servant to her office. There will be an accident in the hangar tonight, Somi said. A power surge. Very unfortunate. Very unexpected. The human will be inside the ship when it happens. The servant bowed. And if he survives, he will not survive. Make sure of it. That night, Do-yun was inside the Eternity, talking to the ship as usual. He was telling a story about his first time fixing a machine as a child, a simple radio that his father had given up on. Do-hyun had worked on it for 3 days, taking it apart and putting it back together, until finally it played music again. That was when I knew, he told the ship. I knew that fixing things was what I wanted to do with my life. Not because I was good at it, but because of the feeling of making something work again, the feeling of bringing something back to life. The ship hummed gently around him. The lights were stronger now than they had been a week ago. The warmth was constant. Do-Yun could almost feel the ship breathing. Then the lights turned red. Alarms screamed through the hallways. The walls shook with violent force. Do-Yun was thrown to the ground as the ship rocked from side to side. "What is happening?" he shouted. He tried to stand, but another explosion knocked him down again. Electricity crackled through the air. Sparks flew from the walls. The temperature rose rapidly, becoming painful. Do-Hyun crawled toward the exit. The smoke was thick now. He could barely see. He could barely breathe. His skin burned from the heat. He was going to die. He knew it. Whatever was happening, it was too much. He could not survive this. Then something strange happened. The floor beneath him moved. Not shaking, but moving with purpose. Metal plates slid together, forming a protective shell around his body. The ship was wrapping him in armor, protecting him from the fire and electricity and heat. The explosions continued, but Do-Hyun felt nothing. The ship held him like a mother holds a child, safe, protected, loved. When the explosions finally stopped, the metal plates slowly opened. Do-Hyun lay on the floor, gasping for air. His clothes were burned. His face was black with smoke. But he was alive. Guards rushed into the ship. They found him there, surrounded by twisted metal and scorched walls. They looked shocked. They had expected to find a body. "The human lives," one of them said. "How is that possible?" Do-Hyun looked at the walls around him. The ship had been damaged badly. Many systems had been destroyed. But the ship had used its last strength to save him. "Thank you," he whispered. The walls flickered weakly in response. The news of the accident spread quickly. By morning, everyone in the palace knew what had happened. A power surge of unknown origin. The human mechanic nearly killed. The ship damaged further. Queen Yuna came to the hangar at dawn. Her face was pale with anger. She had not felt this emotion in decades. She had forgotten what it felt like to care about something enough to feel angry when it was threatened. She found Do-Hyun sitting against the ship's hull. He was wrapped in bandages. His hands were burned, but he was alive. "Who did this?" the queen demanded. "I do not know." "It was not an accident. Power surges do not happen like that. Someone tried to kill you." Do-Hyun looked up at her. "Yes. Someone does not want the ship to fly." The queen's eyes narrowed. "Someone in my palace. Someone close to me." She thought of Somi immediately. Her advisor had always been against the idea of repairing the ship. Her advisor had always encouraged the queen to stay isolated, to stay distant, to stay broken. But Somi was careful. There would be no evidence. There would be no proof. "Can you continue?" the queen asked. Do-Hyun struggled to his feet. His body screamed with pain, but he stood anyway. "Yes, the ship is damaged now. The explosion destroyed many systems. The mechanical systems, yes, but not the heart." Do-Hyun placed his bandaged hand on the ship's hull. "The ship protected me. It used its power to save me. Do you understand what that means?" The queen looked at the damaged walls, the burned metal, the evidence of the ship's sacrifice. "It means the ship cares about you," she said slowly. "It means you have reached it somehow. It means your methods are working. It means more than that." Do-Hyun turned to face her fully. "It means the ship has chosen to live again. It saved me because it wants to fly. It wants to heal. Whoever tried to kill me, they failed. They made the ship fight back." Queen Yuna stared at him. This strange human with his burned hands and his simple words. He had done something that no Varathi engineer had ever accomplished. He had given her father's ship a reason to live. "Find out who did this," she said. "I will deal with them." "No." The queen was shocked. No one said no to her. "What?" "Whoever did this is powerful. They are close to you. If you act now, they will know you suspect them. They will cover their tracks. They will try again with a better plan." Do-Hyun shook his head. "Let them think they have scared me. Let them think they have won. But keep working. Keep healing the ship. And when the ship finally flies, they will have no power left." The queen considered this. It was wise advice. Patient advice. Not the kind of advice she usually received. "You are more clever than you appear, human." Do-Hyun almost smiled. "I am a mechanic. I know how to fix things. And sometimes fixing things means waiting for the right moment. The queen nodded slowly. Then she did something she had not done in 73 years. She reached out and touched the ship's hull. The metal was warm under her fingers, warmer than she remembered. And somewhere deep inside the eternity, something responded to her touch. A pulse, a heartbeat, a recognition. The ship knew her. The ship remembered her. And for the first time since her father died, Queen Yuna felt something other than grief. She felt hope. The days after the accident were difficult. Do-hyun's burns healed slowly. The ship's damaged systems remained dark and silent. But every night he returned to the eternity. Every night he talked. And every night the ship responded a little more. Queen Yuna visited more often now. She no longer hid in the shadows. She walked openly through the ship, touching the walls, sitting in different rooms, remembering the past. One night she found Do-hyun in the command chamber. He was sitting in one of the officer chairs, looking at the great window that showed nothing but the hangar wall beyond. "You should be resting," she said. "Your wounds have not healed." "I am fine." "You are stubborn." "Yes." He looked at her and smiled slightly. "You are stubborn too. That is why you are still here." The queen sat down in a chair near him. For a long moment neither of them spoke. The silence was comfortable now. They had spent enough time together that silence no longer felt awkward. "Can I tell you something?" the queen asked finally. "Of course." She was quiet for another moment, gathering her thoughts. Then she began to speak. "I was with my father when he died. I was young then, only 40 years old, a child by our standards. But I loved him more than anything in the universe. He was not just my father, he was my teacher, my guide, my best friend." Do-hyun listened without interrupting. "When he got sick, I refused to believe it. I told myself the doctors were wrong. I told myself he would recover. I told myself that someone as strong as him could not simply fade away." She paused. "But he did fade, day by day, week by week. I watched him grow weaker. I watched the light leave his eyes, and I could do nothing. The day he died, I was holding his hand. We were in the palace, in his private room. The eternity was docked outside, connected to the palace by a walkway. My father looked at the window and smiled. Her voice grew softer. He said, 'The ship and I have traveled far together. Now we will rest together.' I did not understand what he meant. Then he closed his eyes, his hand went limp, and at that exact moment I heard it. A sound from outside, a great sigh, like something enormous exhaling for the last time. 'The eternity,' Do-hyun said. Yes, the ship died with him, or at least it stopped living. Every light went dark. Every system went silent. The ship that had carried my father across the stars simply gave up." Queen Yuna turned to look at the empty command chair, her father's chair, the seat where he had sat while steering through cosmic storms and diplomatic crises. "I tried to board the ship after that. I thought I could wake it up. I thought it would recognize me. But when I entered, I felt nothing. No warmth, no life. Just cold metal and empty rooms. The ship did not reject me. It simply did not notice me. It was too deep in its grief to feel anything else." She stood up and walked to the command chair. She ran her fingers along the armrest. "I told myself I hated the ship after that. I told myself it was just a machine. I told myself I did not care if it ever flew again, but I was lying. The truth was, I felt the same way the ship did, empty, cold, unable to feel anything except loss." Do-hyun watched her carefully. "You have been grieving for 73 years. Yes, frozen in that moment. Unable to move forward. Unable to let go." She finally looked at him. "Do you think I am foolish?" "No. I think you are human, or close to it." He stood up and walked toward her. "Grief does not follow rules. It does not care about time. Sometimes we carry it for years without knowing how to put it down. Your people live such short lives. How do you deal with loss when you know it will come so quickly?" Do-hyun thought about this. "Maybe because we know it will come quickly, we learn to accept it sooner. Or maybe we are just better at pretending." He shook his head. "No, that is not true. Humans suffer just as much as anyone. We just do not have centuries to suffer. We must find a way to continue, or we run out of time." Queen Yuna studied his face. You have lost people too. Everyone, my parents, my grandmother, my friends, my entire world is gone now. Everyone I knew on Earth is probably dead. I am alone in the universe. Yet you continue, you work, you help others. You spend your nights talking to a broken ship. Because stopping would mean letting the grief win. Do-yun stepped closer to her. Your Majesty, Yuna, the ship is not waiting for you to be worthy. It is not waiting for you to prove something. It is waiting for you to stop punishing yourself. It is waiting for you to forgive yourself for surviving when your father did not. Her eyes widened. Forgive myself? Yes. You feel guilty. You feel like you should have been able to save him. You feel like you do not deserve to be happy while he is gone. So you have locked yourself in this palace for 73 years, refusing to live, refusing to fly, refusing to be the queen your father knew you could be. Tears appeared in her eyes. Actual tears. The first she had cried in decades. How do you know this? She whispered. Because I felt the same way. After my ship was destroyed, I was the only survivor. I asked myself every day why I lived when others died. I told myself I did not deserve to be happy. I punished myself with hard work and loneliness. He paused. Until one day I realized something. The people I lost would not want me to suffer. They would want me to live. They would want me to find joy again. My survival was not a curse. It was a gift. And wasting it by drowning in grief would dishonor their memory. Queen Yuna wiped her eyes. Her composure was gone now. She looked young and vulnerable, like the princess she had been when her father died. My father would want me to fly again, she said. Yes. He would want me to rule, to travel, to see the empire he built. Yes. He would want me to be happy. More than anything. She looked at the command chair, the empty seat that had haunted her for 73 years. Then she looked at Do-hyun. I am scared, she admitted. I have been broken for so long. What if I cannot be fixed? Do-hyun took her hand. It was a bold thing to do, a human touching the queen. But in this moment, they were not queen and commoner. They were just two people who had known loss and were trying to find their way back to life. The ship was broken too, he said, but it is waking up. It is healing, because someone reminded it that there are still things worth living for. He squeezed her hand gently. You can heal too. You just have to let yourself. Queen Yuna looked at their joined hands. His skin was rough and scarred. Hers was smooth and cold. They were so different. Human and Barathi, mortal and ancient, common and royal. But in this moment, none of that mattered. She squeezed his hand back. Around them, the ship responded. Lights flickered on along the walls. Warmth flooded the command chamber. A gentle hum filled the air, like a heart starting to beat after a long sleep. The eternity was not just listening anymore. It was waking up, and it was waiting for its queen to come home. The human says he will activate the ship today. The queen will be present. Everyone is allowed to watch. By midday, thousands of people had gathered outside the royal hangar. Nobles in fine clothes stood next to common workers. Military officers stood next to merchants. Children sat on their parents' shoulders, trying to see over the crowd. No one really believed the ship would fly. The eternity had been dead for 73 years. The greatest minds in the empire had failed to wake it. What could one human possibly do? But still they came. Because hope is a strange thing. Even people who do not believe in miracles want to see one. Inside the hangar, Do-hyun stood before the ship. He had not slept the night before. His heart beat fast in his chest. His bandaged hands trembled slightly. Taiho stood beside him. His friend had refused to leave. You do not have to do this today, Taiho said. You can wait. You can prepare more. No. Do-hyun shook his head. The ship is ready. I can feel it. If I wait, I will lose my courage. And if it does not work? Do-hyun looked at the great vessel before him. The eternity seemed to glow slightly in the morning light. The dust was gone now, cleaned away by servants. The hull shimmered with colors that had not been seen in decades. Then I will have failed, Do-hyun said, but at least I will have tried, and sometimes trying is enough. The great doors of the hangar opened. Queen Yuna walked in, followed by her royal guards. She wore her official robes for the first time in years. A silver crown sat on her head. She looked like a queen again. Behind her came advisor Somi. The older woman's face showed no emotion, but her eyes were dark with fear. If this worked, everything she had built would crumble. If this worked, she would be exposed. The queen approached Do-hyun. The crowd outside grew silent. "Are you ready?" she asked. "Yes." He paused. "But I will need your help." "My help?" "This ship does not need a mechanic to activate it. It needs its queen. It has been waiting for you for 73 years. Do-hyun extended his hand toward her. "Will you come with me?" Somi stepped forward. "Your Majesty, this is not appropriate. You should not enter that ship. We do not know if it is safe. We do not know what the human has done to it." Queen Yuna looked at her advisor. For the first time, she saw the fear behind the calm mask. She saw the desperation, and she understood. "You tried to kill him," the queen said quietly. Somi's face went pale. "I do not know what you mean. The accident, the power surge, it was you." The queen's voice was cold. "You have been controlling me for 73 years, keeping me weak, keeping me isolated, building your power on my grief. Your Majesty, I have only ever served you. You have served yourself." Queen Yuna turned away from her. "Guards, take the advisor to the holding cells. I will deal with her later." Somi's calm finally broke. "You cannot do this. I made this empire. Without me, you would have destroyed it with your weakness." But the guards were already moving. They grabbed Somi's arms and pulled her away. Her screams echoed through the hangar as she was dragged out. The crowd outside murmured with shock. The queen had just arrested her most powerful advisor. The empire would never be the same. Queen Yuna turned back to Do-hyun. Her face was calm again. "You were saying," Do-hyun almost smiled. "I was saying I need your help. Will you come with me?" She took his hand. Together they walked toward the ship. The main entrance, which had been sealed for 73 years, opened before them. The metal parted like a curtain, welcoming them inside. The ship was alive with light now. Every hallway glowed with soft colors. The walls hummed with energy. The air was warm and clean. They walked through the corridors, past rooms where servants had once worked, past chambers where diplomats had once met, past gardens where flowers had once grown. The ship showed them everything, guiding them toward the command chamber. When they arrived, Do-hyun stopped at the doorway. "This is as far as I go," he said. Queen Yuna looked at him with confusion. "What do you mean?" "This is not my ship. It is yours. It belongs to your family. I woke it up, but you have to give it a reason to fly." He released her hand. "Go. Sit in your father's chair. Tell the ship that you are ready to live again." "I cannot do this alone." "You are not alone. Your father is with you. He has always been with you." Do-hyun stepped back. "Go." Queen Yuna stood at the entrance of the command chamber. The great seat waited for her at the center of the room, her father's seat, the seat she had avoided for 73 years. She thought about everything Do-hyun had told her. About grief, about forgiveness, about living for those who cannot live anymore. She thought about her father, his smile, his wisdom, his love for the stars. She walked to the command chair. She sat down. The ship responded immediately. Light exploded through every window. Energy surged through every system. The great organic engine in the heart of the ship began to pulse with power, beating like a drum, beating like a heart. Outside, the crowd gasped. The eternity was glowing brighter than the sun. The hangar walls were shaking. The ground was trembling. Inside the command chamber, Queen Yuna felt the ship connect with her. It was like nothing she had ever experienced. She felt the ship's joy, its relief, its love. She felt her father's presence, woven into every part of the vessel. He was not gone. He had never been gone. He had been waiting here, in the ship he loved, waiting for her to come home. Tears streamed down her face, but for the first time in 73 years, they were tears of happiness. "I am here," she whispered. "I am ready." The engines roared to life. The ship lifted from the ground, slowly at first, then faster. The hangar roof opened above them, revealing the blue sky of Varath. Do-hyun stood in the corridor, holding onto the wall as the ship rose. He watched through a window as the ground fell away. The crowd below became small dots. then disappeared entirely. The eternity broke through the clouds. Sunlight flooded every room. And then, with a burst of power that made the air itself sing, the ship shot forward into the sky. It was flying. After 73 years of silence, the eternity was flying again. In the command chamber, Queen Yuna laughed, actually laughed. The sound surprised her. She had forgotten what her own laughter sounded like. She looked out at the stars that were beginning to appear as the ship rose higher. The stars her father had loved. The stars she had been afraid to see. "Thank you," she said. She did not know if she was talking to the ship, or to her father, or to Do-hyun. Maybe all of them. The ship hummed in response. Warm, happy, alive. They were flying. They were finally free. The eternity returned to the palace after its first flight in 73 years. The ship landed gently in the hangar, and the entire capital erupted in joy. Music filled the streets. People danced and sang. Fireworks lit up the night sky. Queen Yuna had returned, not just physically, but in every way that mattered. She walked among her people for the first time in decades. She smiled, she spoke, she listened to their stories and their problems. She was a queen again. Everyone wanted to celebrate with her. Nobles brought gifts. Generals pledged their loyalty. Citizens lined up for hours just to see her face. But through all the celebrations, Queen Yuna noticed something. Someone was missing. Do-hyun had disappeared. She found him on the third night. He was in his old workshop in the slums, packing his few belongings into a small bag. The room was exactly as he had left it weeks ago. Simple, poor, forgotten. "You left without saying goodbye," she said from the doorway. Do-hyun looked up. He did not seem surprised to see her. "I did not want to interrupt the celebrations. You are the reason for the celebrations." He shook his head. "No, you are. The ship woke up for you, not for me. I just reminded it that waking up was possible." Queen Yuna entered the small workshop. She looked around at the broken machines, the simple tools, the poor conditions. This was where he had lived for 3 years. This was where he had survived. "You were going to leave," she said, "without asking for anything, without claiming any reward. I am a mechanic. I fixed the ship. That was the job." He continued packing. "Now the job is done. I should go back to my life." "What life?" "Living in this place, fixing water filters for people who see you as less than nothing?" Do-hyun stopped packing. He stood still for a long moment, his back to her. "I know my place," he said quietly. "I am human. I do not belong in palaces or on royal ships. The celebrations are for your people, not for me. If I stay, I will only cause problems. Nobles will be angry that a human is close to the queen. Politicians will use me to attack you. I will become a burden instead of a help." Queen Yuna walked closer to him. She placed her hand on his shoulder and turned him to face her. "You believe that?" she asked. "It is the truth." "No, it is fear." Her eyes met his. "You told me that grief is not a cage unless I build the walls myself. But you have built your own cage. You have decided that you do not deserve anything more than this small life because you are human, because you are different, because you are alone." Do-hyun looked away. "It is not the same." "It is exactly the same. You helped me escape my prison. Now let me help you escape yours." She released his shoulder and stepped back. Her expression was serious but gentle. "I am going to reclaim my empire," she said. "For 73 years, I let it fall into corruption and decay. Somi was only one problem. There are many others. I need to visit every star system. I need to see every colony with my own eyes. I need to rebuild what I let crumble." Do-hyun nodded slowly. "You will be a great queen." "Perhaps, but I will be a lonely one." She paused. "Unless you come with me." He stared at her. "What?" "Come with me. Travel on the eternity. See the stars. Help me understand my empire and my people. Help me remember how to be human." She almost smiled at the word. "That sounds strange. A human teaching an alien how to be human. But it is true. You see things that I cannot see. You understand things that I do not understand. You made a broken ship fly again by telling it stories about rain." I am just a mechanic. You are much more than that. You are the first person in 73 years who treated me like a person instead of a queen. You are the first person who made me feel hope. She stepped closer to him again. I need someone like you by my side, not because of what you can do, but because of who you are. Do-yun felt something tight in his chest. Hope, fear, longing, things he had buried for a long time. I will die, he said. Humans live short lives. In 50 or 60 years, I will be gone, and you will still be young. I know. It will be painful to watch me grow old, to lose someone again. I know, she took his hand. Her fingers were cool against his warm skin. But I have learned something from you. It is better to have a short time with someone who matters than a long time with nothing at all. Grief comes eventually. Loss comes eventually. But running from them only means missing the good things that come before. Do-yun looked at their joined hands, human and Varathi, rough and smooth, warm and cool. The nobles will hate you for this, he said. Let them. The politicians will try to use me against you. Let them try. I do not know how to be anything except a mechanic. Then be a mechanic. Fix things. That is what you do. The Empire has many things that need fixing. She squeezed his hand. Come with me. Not as a servant, not as a worker, as a companion, as a partner, as someone who reminds me why I wanted to fly again. Do-hyun was silent for a long time. He thought about his life in the slums, the loneliness, the survival. The quiet days with no one to talk to except broken machines. He thought about the ship, the warmth of its walls, the way it had protected him, the way it had responded to his stories. He thought about Queen Yuna, her cold mask that hid such deep pain, her slow transformation from frozen grief to living hope, the way she looked at him like he was something precious. I do not know if this is wise, he said finally. It is not wise. It is foolish and dangerous and will probably cause many problems. She smiled. But sometimes the foolish path is the right one. A mechanic taught me that. Do-hyun laughed. It was a strange sound in that small, poor workshop, a sound of joy in a place that had known only survival. You are very convincing for someone who spent 73 years hiding in a palace. I learned from the best. He talked to ships and made them fly. She released his hand and walked to the door. Then she stopped and looked back at him. The Eternity leaves tomorrow morning. We are going to the outer colonies first. There are reports of trouble there. She paused. There is a room prepared for you on the ship, if you want it. She left without waiting for an answer. Do-yun stood alone in his workshop. He looked at his half-packed bag. He looked at the broken machines waiting to be fixed. He looked at the life he had built from nothing. Then he looked at the door where she had stood. He thought about the stars. He had seen them from space once, long ago, before his transport ship was destroyed, bright and endless and full of possibility. He had thought he would never see them again. He picked up his bag. He walked to the door. He stepped outside into the night air of the slums. Above him, the sky was clear. The stars shone down like scattered diamonds. In the morning, he stood at the entrance of the Eternity. The ship hummed with welcome. The walls glowed softly. It recognized him. It remembered him. Queen Yuna waited at the top of the boarding ramp. She wore simple traveling clothes now. No crown, no royal robes, just herself. You came, she said. You knew I would. I hoped. She extended her hand toward him. Welcome aboard, mechanic. Do-yun climbed the ramp. He took her hand. She pulled him gently toward the interior of the ship, toward the corridors of light, toward the stars waiting beyond. The great engines began to hum. The ship lifted from the ground. The hangar fell away below them. And as the Eternity rose into the sky, carrying a grieving queen and a lonely human toward whatever adventures waited among the stars, Do-hyun realized something. He was not alone anymore. He belonged somewhere. He was finally home. The stars welcomed them both.